Our topic today is the Epic Games Store and more importantly its launcher, the Epic Games Launcher or EGL. For those who are not familiar with Epic Games, they are the studio behind the Unreal Engine, Jackrabbit and perhaps most importantly Fortnite. The Epic Games Store has had a rocky launch with controversies stemming from their methods of securing exclusive content to their store and their very questionable privacy practice. So, let's talk about those controversies. Epic Games Store launched on December 6th with the promise to give a better deal to developers with a better revenue share with their 88-12 model, where the developers get up to 88% and Epic takes just a 12% cut, as opposed to the digital industry standard of 70-30, which their competitor Steam, Apple, Google and others use. The other promises made by Epic were that the store would be better curated, allowing only high quality games to enter the store, and for now give a free game on the store every 2 weeks. The influencers could also join Epic's creator program to get 5% of the final purchase price that would be covered from Epic's share for the first year and later from the developer's share. Epic would also go on to market itself as the competition the market desperately needs. As any new store, Epic needed exclusives. Rather than do what its competitors like EA's Origin, Ubisoft's Uplay or GOG, Epic doesn't have any own new games in its pipeline, with the sole exception of Fortnite and its upcoming patches. So Epic's strategy so far has been buying those exclusives in a similar way as Sony, Nintendo or Microsoft would on the console marketplace. So far this sounds like a business as usual, but what exactly caused outrage then? While some of the games already had some kind of store page on other stores, namely Steam, taking those games from the store arguably isn't that bad. The biggest controversy so far came with the game called Metro Exodus. Metro Exodus, a game developed by 4A Games, is the third game in the Metro series. On PC, these games would pretty much be showcases on how far you can push the system. Metro is also the biggest exclusive game on Epic Store so far and pretty much the only exclusive AA game on the store. While Metro's exclusivity itself isn't a bad thing, the way it became exclusive can be called a lesson in bad PR. As the launch of Metro Exodus was soon approaching, the publisher of Metro, Deep Silver, decided to take the game out of Steam and other storefronts and put it on Epic Store. The problem with this approach was that neither the marketing team nor the developers were made aware of this change. The game had been up for a pre-order on different platforms for months. The game was also marketed to come with an activation key for the Steam platform. All that changes in just a few days when the game was yanked with a very short warning from the stores and all the pre-orders were suddenly changed outside of Steam to use Epic Game Launcher. The game developers were so out of the loop that they even assured that retail copies would come with Steam keys and the trailer still had a Steam logo. Pre-orders made on Steam were honored and it's worth mentioning that Metro Exodus will hit other storefronts in 2020. As a funny detail, the retail boxes had a sticker with Epic Games Store logo put on top of Steam logo. The gamers, quick to react with passion on everything, were pissed off and proceeded to Twitter and on Steam to voice their discontent through different means. Now, let's go over some reasons why the gamers became so angry. To start with, we have to remember that EGS is just a few months old and it's clear that it was rushed out very fast. The store and launcher lack the basic functions that this kind of storefront should have from the get-go. We are talking about search functions, shopping carts, cloud saves, to name just a few important core features. Epic's response for this so far has been that these functions are not that important and customers shouldn't expect these basic features in 2019 from the get-go. Ironically, even Nintendo, famous for its abysmal online functions, had most of these functions on Switch and heck, even on Wii in 2006. Every single competitor of Epic has cloud saves, working search functions and shopping carts. Arguably shopping cart is so fundamental function of a store that it's baffling to see a store to launch without it. So, people were losing basic features that they had grown used to in 2019. The lack of features even went so far that the photo mode shipped with Metro Exodus didn't work, as it would call Steam's screenshot function, which of course, is not part of Epic's launcher. The other reason was that the competition loaded by many ended up being a single place to purchase the game instead of many different storefronts. The price also ended up going up for many. It was clear that to sustain the 8812 share, some of the costs would have to be transferred to the customers instead. Choosing a payment option on Epic Store would end up bringing a charge of up to 10% on top of the game price. So many were naturally pissed off, as they had to buy an inferior product for higher price because the company would buy the exclusive rights for a game. Another example of this kind of competition would be Ubisoft The Division 2, which was removed on launch from all third-party stores but from Epic Store. I would presume because no one would bother buying it through Epic Store otherwise. Finally, let's go over the region locks introduced by the Epic Game Store. China is banned from accessing EGS, which means that many Chinese living on the mainland will be unable to access games on the store before they come to Steam after their term of exclusivity ends or WeGame picks the games. For many, competition means a choice of stores competing for customers, the ability to buy the game from where you want and for the price you want. Customers don't necessarily think about the developer's point of view in cases like these. We have to remember that the developers are human too, and they need to think where they get the next paycheck. Especially for smaller indie developers, a promise of a lot of money for exclusivity is more than tempting. For some, it literally could be a choice between storing and eating. In my opinion, having competition means both competing for developers and customers. Buying exclusives is necessary if your company doesn't have the capability to make your own games, and that's totally okay. There are many games that would not be here if they weren't born through some kind of exclusivity. What is not okay, however, is to lie to people that you promote competition by trying to stifle it, or by marketing that you're coming to one platform, having pre-orders open for a long time, and then just pull it and claim that consumers benefit from an inferior version for a higher price. As of the time of this video, the EGL is solely competing with exclusives and buying support from developers instead of developing features to compete openly for customers by offering a better store experience for all parties. The roadmap they have published on store features shows that the store will be in itself in a 1.0 status sometime December 2019. But if only there weren't the privacy issues. Oh boy, where to begin? Since Unreal Tournament, Epic has had, at best, very spotty way of handling user information on its services. Fortnite, because of its immense popularity, was the target of many hacks, and poor security of Epic's account services with a lack of 2FA meant that many accounts were stolen and credit cards were, and in some cases still are, illegally used. As many of you are aware, European Union has this legislation called General Data Protection Regulation, or GDPR. The GDPR is a regulation focused solely on protecting people's rights on how their personal data is used. The GDPR can also be quite strict with fines reaching astronomical sums in most severe cases. The gist of GDPR is that in many cases, the data processor or the corporation handling your data needs your consent for most of the stuff, and it has to be related to the service they are providing. GDPR also stipulates that the consent has to be acquired through opt-in instead of opt-out. Well, of course, it is clear that the General Counsel of Epic Games clearly has no idea what GDPR is, or hasn't even bothered to read it, since in the beginning when a customer bought the game or added a free game to his or her account, the store page had an opt-out checkbox from giving customers email to third party. Now sure, everyone screws up a bit in the beginning. In Epic's case, we are talking about the biggest game engine developer in the world, a company that has been around for decades. Not a good start and already leaves a bad impression. Epic has since fixed this, and sharing your email with third parties such as the game developers or publishers is opt-in. The next big issue came up in March 2019. As all services and programs, Epic Launcher uses telemetry to analyze its customers and their behavior in the store. They also use this telemetry to track some purchases for their creator program. This is normal, and similar telemetry is used by Windows and Nvidia, for example. Telemetry data, such as your hardware information, is uploaded to Epic servers almost weekly. The twist, however, comes from the fact that Epic also uses a Windows system call to search for Steam on the computer. Now, the system call itself isn't anything suspicious, but questions start to come up on the reason why it scans for Steam on your computer. Even worse is that the Epic Games launcher actually accesses a file called localconfig.vdf, an encrypted Steam system file that holds a lot of your private information inside it. This private information consists of your friends list, their known aliases, your games, when was the last time you played it, and other identifiable information. What EGL does is that it parses this file and converts this file into a file it can read, and then parses information from it and sends it to Epic's servers. Epic's claim so far has been that the information is only accepted in situation where the customer uses import Steam friends function. And the reason Epic uses this file instead of Steam's API is because of security risks. This is problematic for various reasons. Firstly, we have very little way of knowing what data Epic actually gathers this way, except for their rather dubious claims. Secondly, it gathers the information from all Steam users on your computer without any person's permission. Tim Sweeney, the CEO of Epic, reasoned that this method of gathering Steam friends list was made rather haphazardly and would be fixed soon. Which makes me question why this implementation was on the launcher for 1 whole year, even before the store itself launched. Sweeney also commented that they should have asked before gathering the information, this way confessing that they have gathered identifiable information without users' permissions. A spokesperson for Valve Corporation, the owner of Steam platform, commented later that the file Epic Games is reading and copying is not meant for third parties to access and that Valve would look into this. Either Mr. Sweeney has no idea how this function works or he just made his lawyer's day, because this screams potential GDPR violation, something that Epic Games is no stranger to. It will be interesting to see if any of the data protection agencies of EU countries will action on this. For me personally, until they have fixed their privacy issues, I will be buying my games from other services. Thanks for watching and see you next time.
Double kill.
In position. I need backup.
His justice is swift.
Blue core is vulnerable. Attack the enemy core.
Enemy prime node